Thousands of years ago, groups of people from what is now Yunnan in southern China began a long and challenging journey. This migration wasn't an easy choice. It was driven by necessity. Changes in climate started to threaten their ability to grow food, and natural disasters became more frequent. Land that had once been fertile could no longer support their way of life, pushing them to search for a better place to survive. As they set out, they carried only simple tools and supplies, but more importantly, they brought their traditions, knowledge, and skills, passed down through generations. Their journey took them across vast landscapes, through valleys, mountains, and unfamiliar territories, eventually leading them toward regions with more favorable conditions. It wasn't just physically demanding, it also required courage to explore lands they had never seen before. For them, this journey was about survival, but also about hope, starting a new chapter in a land that could offer a future. They traveled through mainland Southeast Asia, facing rough and unforgiving terrain. The Malay Peninsula became one of their main routes, covered in dense tropical rainforests filled with challenges. They had to deal with thick jungles, swamps, disease-carrying insects, and dangerous wildlife. But their determination kept them moving forward. They relied on their understanding of nature to find food, water, and shelter along the way. Rivers played a crucial role in their journey. These natural waterways became their highways. They built simple rafts from wood and followed the currents to travel farther. When they reached the coast, they faced a new challenge. The open sea. With limited tools, they learned to read the wind and ocean currents to continue their journey. This migration tested not only their survival skills, but also their resilience and determination to find a new home for future generations. After a long journey across land and sea, they eventually arrived on the island of Borneo. The island welcomed them with vast, untouched tropical forests, rich in resources, but also full of challenges. They found fertile land for farming, rivers full of fish, and forests that provided fruits, timber, and medicinal plants. Life in this wild environment forced them to adapt quickly. They developed skills in hunting, using local plants and building shelters that could protect them from harsh weather and wild animals. Over time, communities began to form along major rivers like the Kapuas and Mahakam. These rivers became the heart of their daily life, not only as a source of water and food, but also as routes for communication and trade. They built simple social systems, dividing tasks based on each person's skills: hunting, fishing, farming, or building. Living along the rivers allowed them to connect with other groups, share knowledge, and build supportive networks. The rivers became the lifeline that connected their past journey with the future they were building together. In their new home, they made full use of the natural resources around them. They farmed using simple methods, growing rice, root crops, and other plants for daily needs. The forests provided animals like deer, wild boar, and birds, which became their main sources of protein. They also gathered fruits, honey, and traditional medicines from the jungle. Importantly, they lived in balance with nature, taking only what they needed and avoiding harm to the environment. Community values became the foundation of their daily life. Cooperation was essential. They worked together to build homes, farm the land, and protect their communities. Everyone shared responsibilities and helped one another, creating strong bonds and a sense of unity. Decisions were often made collectively through discussion, ensuring that everyone's voice was heard. This spirit of cooperation shaped their identity as a harmonious and supportive society. Over time, their identity was deeply influenced by their interaction with the environment. Living in the tropical forests shaped both their physical adaptation and their culture. They developed unique knowledge about the jungle, how to identify medicinal plants, use wood for tools, and understand weather patterns for farming and hunting. All of these elements formed a distinct cultural identity, setting them apart from other groups living in different regions. Eventually, the term Dayak came to be used as a collective name for the various groups who settled in the interior of Borneo. The tradition of ear stretching, on the other hand, carries both strong aesthetic and spiritual significance. Among the Dayak people, long earlobes are considered a symbol of ideal beauty, especially for women, who are seen as more graceful and dignified as their ears lengthen over time. Beyond appearance, this practice also represents maturity and wisdom, as the process begins at a young age and requires patience and dedication. The heavy earrings used to stretch the ears are often made from metals with symbolic value, such as bronze or gold, reflecting a person's social status. This tradition not only enhances physical appearance, but also reinforces a spiritual connection to ancestral values and customs. The rumah betang, a distinctive feature of Dayak architecture, is designed to support a communal way of life. The structure is long and elevated, with separate living spaces for each family, yet all are connected within one large building. Its high roof and sturdy pillars make it resilient against harsh weather conditions, such as heavy rain and flooding, which are common in Kalimantan. The term Dayak originally emerged as a way to distinguish the indigenous peoples of Borneo from later arriving communities, such as traders and migrants from outside the island. However, even though they shared the same name, the Dayak are not a single, uniform group. They consist of many sub-ethnic communities, each with its own language, customs, and belief systems. Over time, Dayak has come to represent more than just a geographic label. It's a powerful symbol of identity. It reflects both the diversity and the deep cultural connections among groups who share common ancestral roots across the vast landscapes of Kalimantan. Major groupings such as the Kalimantan, Iban, Apokayan, Otdanam Ngaju, Murut, and Punan developed through unique adaptations to different environments. Some communities settled in mountainous regions, others along rivers or in lowland forests. These environments shaped how they lived, what crops they grew, what animals they hunted, and the tools they used in everyday life. For example, groups living in the highlands developed distinct hunting traditions and survival techniques compared to those in river-based communities where waterways played a central role in transportation and food sources. Language also became a key part of each group's identity. Beyond simple communication, it serves as a living archive of history, beliefs, and values, passed down through oral traditions like storytelling, songs, and ceremonial chants. Cultural differences are also reflected in how each group marks important life events, marriages, harvests, and funerals. Rituals among the Iban, for instance, can differ significantly from those of the Punan, highlighting their unique historical journeys and relationships with the natural world. Despite all this diversity, these groups remain connected by a shared cultural foundation, making their differences a source of collective richness rather than division. Before the arrival of major world religions, many Dayak communities practice kaharingan, a belief system rooted in animism. In this worldview, every element of nature, trees, rivers, rocks, and mountains, is believed to possess a living spirit that must be respected. Maintaining harmony with nature is seen as essential for survival. Rituals and offerings are performed to honor these spirits with the hope of ensuring good harvests, successful hunts, and protection from harm. Equally important is the connection to ancestral spirits. Ancestors are believed to guide and protect the living, influencing daily life in meaningful ways. Ceremonies and communal celebrations often serve as moments to seek their blessings or express gratitude. This spiritual connection is also reflected in artistic expressions. Wood carvings, traditional clothing, and symbolic motifs often depict the relationship between humans, nature, and the spirit world. Kaharingan is more than just a belief system. It shapes how the Dayak people see the world, emphasizing balance, respect, and interconnectedness in every aspect of life. Tattooing in Dayak culture carries deep meaning as well. It's not just body decoration, it's a visual record of a person's life journey. Each design represents personal achievements, such as success in hunting, milestones like marriage, or meaningful contributions to the community. Tattoos are also symbols of courage, often earned after demonstrating bravery or exceptional skill. The process itself is traditional and ceremonial, using natural ink and tools made from sharp thorns. Every mark on the skin tells a story, connecting the individual not only to their personal identity, but also to their ancestors and the natural world around them. In this way, Dayak tattoos become a living narrative, etched into the body, but rooted deeply in culture, history, and belief. Wood carving is another prominent form of cultural expression among the Dayak people. These carvings are not merely decorative. They carry deep spiritual meaning, often illustrating the relationship between humans, nature, and ancestral spirits. Intricate motifs such as hornbills, dragons, and geometric patterns are carved into wood, boats, and various parts of the rumah betang. This art form serves as a storytelling medium, passing down traditional knowledge from generation to generation and strengthening cultural identity. In addition, traditional Dayak dances, often accompanied by music from instruments like gongs and the sampe, play an important role in religious ceremonies and celebrations. Each movement in the dance holds symbolic meaning, from prayers for fertility to expressions of respect for ancestral spirits. Typically built along riverbanks, the rumah betang provides easy access to water while also serving as a strategic hub for transportation and communication between communities. More than just a place to live, it functions as a center for social gatherings, traditional ceremonies, and religious activities. Living under one roof fosters strong bonds among families, encouraging trust, cooperation, and a deep sense of solidarity from an early age. Important decisions affecting the community are usually made through group discussions involving all residents. Every corner of the house is decorated with traditional Dayak carvings that reflect their beliefs and ancestral history. In this way, the rumah betang is not just a physical structure, but a living expression of Dayak philosophy, one that values togetherness, mutual support, and harmony with nature. The mandau, a traditional Dayak weapon, is not only used in warfare, but also symbolizes honor and bravery. Each mandau is uniquely decorated with intricate carvings that showcase the craftsmanship of its maker and the status of its owner. In daily life, it is commonly used for practical purposes such as hunting or cutting wood. However, in traditional ceremonies, the mandau takes on a sacred role and is believed to possess spiritual power. Alongside the mandau, the blowpipe, sampiat, is another highly effective hunting tool, especially in dense forests. Mastery of the blowpipe reflects the skill and local wisdom of the Dayak people, as it is designed with precision to hunt small animals without harming the surrounding environment. Both the mandau, a huli, traditional sword, and the sampit, blowpipe, reflect the deep connection between Dayak culture, daily life, and spirituality. The Dayak people have long maintained a close relationship with the forest, which has sustained them for thousands of years. Their knowledge of plants is extensive, covering everything from food sources and medicinal herbs to building materials. They understand which plants are edible, which are toxic, and how to process natural ingredients into traditional remedies used to treat various illnesses. This knowledge is passed down orally from generation to generation, making it an essential part of their cultural identity. Beyond plants, the Dayak also possess a deep understanding of animal behavior, allowing them to hunt efficiently without disrupting the balance of the ecosystem. Their way of life is rooted in harmony with nature. They take only what they need, ensuring that natural resources remain available for future generations. For example, in hunting, they use methods that do not threaten wildlife populations, such as the sumpit, which is designed for precise and selective use. In agriculture, they practice shifting cultivation, a method that allows the land to naturally recover before it is used again. This approach reflects a strong respect for the environment and highlights a philosophy that prioritizes ecological balance as the foundation of sustainability. Through these practices, the Dayak people not only preserve the ecosystem, but also safeguard the traditions that depend on the continued health of the forest. The arrival of traders from China, India, and the Arab world in Kalimantan had a significant impact on the lives of the Dayak people. These traders did more than introduce new goods, such as textiles, spices, and metal tools. They also brought new cultural ideas, artistic influences, and belief systems. From China, for example, the Dayak began to recognize distinctive patterns in fabrics and jewelry, which they later adapted into their own local art. Indian traders contributed through wood-carving techniques and epic storytelling traditions, while Arab traders introduced elements of language and religion that were gradually adopted by some communities. These interactions not only enriched local traditions, but also broadened the Dayak people's understanding of the wider world. Despite these outside influences, they remained deeply committed to preserving their original customs and identity. Traditional ceremonies, the Kaharingan belief system, and indigenous art continued to form the core of their cultural life, even as new elements were incorporated. In arts and crafts, for instance, the Dayak blended foreign motifs with their own symbolic designs, creating unique and distinctive works. The same can be seen in their cuisine, where new ingredients introduced by traders were adapted without replacing traditional recipes. This ability to adapt reflects the cultural flexibility of the Dayak people. They were open to outside influences while maintaining a strong sense of identity, balancing change with the preservation of tradition. The colonial era later brought major changes to Dayak society, particularly through religious missions and the exploitation of natural resources in Kalimantan. Colonial powers introduced new religions such as Christianity and Islam into Dayak communities, which had previously practiced indigenous beliefs like Kaharingan. The spread of these religions often went hand in hand with education and infrastructure development, but it also created challenges, including shifts in values and traditions. While some members of the community embraced these new religions, many continued to uphold their ancestral beliefs, leading to complex social dynamics. In addition, the exploitation of natural resources, such as timber, gold, and forest products, by colonial authorities began to alter the Dayak people's relationship with their land. Over time, large-scale exploitation of natural resources caused some Dayak communities to lose access to lands they had managed for generations. The expansion of plantations, mining operations, and colonial infrastructure displaced many Dayak groups from their ancestral territories, forcing them to adapt to new environments or live under increasingly limited conditions. Their traditional way of life, deeply dependent on forests and rivers, began to be disrupted, and many struggled to preserve the practices passed down by their ancestors. While some communities managed to survive by adapting to these changes, others became marginalized. facing significant economic and social challenges. These transformations had long-term effects on the cultural identity and overall well-being of the Dayak people during the colonial period. The Dayak also played an important role in resisting colonial rule, demonstrating courage and resilience in the face of foreign powers. They were not only local inhabitants, but also skilled fighters with deep knowledge of their terrain. In many conflicts, Dayak communities united with other groups to defend their lands from exploitation and colonial domination. Their expertise in using traditional weapons, such as the mandau, a type of sword, and blowpipes, made them formidable opponents. In addition, their ability to read natural signs and understand the complexities of the forest ecosystem gave them a strong strategic advantage in battle. The guerrilla warfare strategies employed by the Dayak were heavily influenced by their intimate knowledge of the jungle, which had been central to their way of life for centuries. They used the forest as shelter, as routes for movement, and as strategic locations to launch surprise attacks. Their plans often involved swift strikes in unexpected locations, taking advantage of terrain that was difficult for colonial forces to navigate. They also used natural obstacles, such as swamps and rivers, to slow down enemy movements. These tactics reflected not only their ingenuity, but also their strong commitment to defending their homeland and preserving their independence. Despite the sweeping changes brought by modernization, the Dayak people continue to uphold their traditions as a vital part of their cultural identity. These traditions are not only a legacy of their ancestors, but also a symbol of enduring values that connect them to nature and their communities. As times change, they adapt certain elements of their traditions to fit modern contexts without losing their essential meaning. For example, traditional Dayak wood carving is no longer found only in longhouses or on traditional boats. It has also been adapted into modern items, such as jewelry and accessories that are widely sold. This approach helps keep their traditions relevant and visible in an increasingly modern world. Customary ceremonies like Gawai, harvest festivals, remain important moments for the Dayak community, even if their format has evolved over time. Gawai, as an expression of gratitude for a successful harvest, is still celebrated with great enthusiasm through traditional dances, music, and rituals honoring ancestors and nature. These harvest festivals are not only celebrations, but also opportunities to strengthen community bonds and introduce Dayak traditions to younger generations. In a modern context, such events are often organized as cultural festivals that attract tourists, helping to showcase the richness of Dayak heritage to a wider audience, while ensuring that these traditions continue to thrive and be appreciated. Rapid development in Kalimantan has also had a major impact on the Dayak people, including the migration of some communities to urban areas. This movement is often driven by economic needs, such as seeking employment in growing sectors like industry, trade, and services in cities. As they adapt to urban life, many leave behind traditional lifestyles centered around forests and rivers, replacing them with more structured, modern ways of living. This transition not only changes their daily lives, but also weakens their connection to nature, which has been a core part of their culture for centuries. Many who move to cities begin to adopt urban lifestyles that can sometimes conflict with the traditional values they were raised with. At the same time, this shift affects the continuity of Dayak traditions, especially among younger generations growing up in urban environments. Many traditions are gradually being forgotten or seen as less relevant in modern life. For instance, practices such as ear elongation or traditional tattooing are now rarely performed, as they may not align with contemporary aesthetic standards. Ceremonies and rituals that once played a central role in Dayak life are also becoming less common due to time constraints and changing priorities. Even so, efforts to preserve Dayak culture continue. Cultural communities in urban areas, along with traditional festivals, play an important role in keeping ancestral heritage alive amid modernization. Cultural festivals, in particular, have become an effective way to introduce the richness of Dayak traditions to younger generations and the broader public. In these events, traditional dances, music, and Dayak handicrafts are showcased, providing space for local artists and craftsmen to preserve and continue their skills. In addition, the development of specialized museums that house artifacts such as the mandau, traditional sword, carvings, ceremonial clothing, and other traditional tools gives people the opportunity to learn about the history and meaning behind their cultural practices. Documentation in the form of books, films, and audiovisual recordings has also become an important tool for preserving folklore. Traditional songs and rituals that were once passed down orally from generation to generation. The Dayak languages, an essential part of their cultural identity, are now being reintroduced in local schools and cultural communities. These programs aim to revive languages that are at risk of disappearing due to the dominance of national and global languages. Language classes are often organized as workshops, where children and young people learn vocabulary, grammar, as well as reading and writing in their native language. In addition, some communities have begun digitizing their languages by creating online dictionaries and learning apps to reach a wider audience. This effort not only helps keep the language alive, but also strengthens pride in Dayak identity in the face of globalization. For generations, the Dayak people have been at the forefront of environmental conservation, particularly in protecting the tropical rainforests of Kalimantan, their ancestral homeland. Through traditional knowledge passed down over centuries, they understand the importance of maintaining ecological balance, not only for their own survival, but also for the health of the global ecosystem. Dayak communities are often involved in environmental movements that oppose deforestation and habitat destruction caused by large-scale plantations, mining, and infrastructure development. They collaborate with environmental organizations and government institutions, offering valuable local perspectives on how to protect forests and natural resources under threat. They have also become a symbol of resistance against violations of Indigenous rights, especially in issues related to land ownership and resource management. Many Dayak groups lead efforts to defend their ancestral lands, which are often overlooked by parties driven by economic interests. Their presence in the tropical forests of Kalimantan demonstrates how humans can live in harmony with nature without destroying it, making them a powerful example of sustainability. Their activism not only creates local impact, but also inspires global movements that emphasize the importance of involving indigenous communities in environmental protection. By preserving tropical forests, the Dayak people are not only safeguarding their ancestral heritage, but also making a significant contribution to mitigating climate change. The origins of the Dayak people reflect a long human journey of adapting to changing environments while highlighting the richness and diversity of their cultural heritage. The history of the Dayak people is not only a story of migration and settlement, but also a powerful example of how a community can build a deep connection with nature and develop traditions that endure for thousands of years. The diversity of subgroups, languages, artistic expressions, and belief systems within Dayak society clearly shows how culture can evolve in unique ways, shaped by geography and the practical needs of daily life. Their origin stories highlight the importance of honoring ancestral heritage and preserving local wisdom, values that remain highly relevant in today's modern world. The story of the Dayak people also offers global inspiration for preserving both cultural traditions and the natural environment as inseparable parts of human identity. their efforts to protect tropical forests, respect ancestral beliefs, and sustain traditional languages and arts, demonstrate how a community can safeguard its heritage in the face of globalization. This example has inspired preservation movements around the world, reinforcing the idea that local values can play a vital role in supporting environmental sustainability and cultural diversity. By understanding and respecting the origins of the Dayak people, we can learn to better appreciate other cultures that form an essential part of the rich mosaic of human civilization,